But
Okay, it's 9:45. Let's start. Welcome, everybody. Some of you welcome back. Some of you welcome for the first time. Hope you're in the right place. This is CABT 157. Second half of 156, although it's okay if you didn't pick 156 yet. You can do an out of order. Maybe some things that we're going to go, oh yeah, you remember that. And you're like, no, I don't remember that because I didn't have 156. That's fine. You can just talk to me after class or whatever. Okay. We got a lot to cover today. Got to do our orientation module 0 and module 1. So let's get right into it. All right, so as I'm sure you probably already know, this class is offered in 3 modalities through the HyFlex format. If you don't know what the HyFlex format is, I got a link here. You can go read that, but you guys have probably already been through that drill. So there's face-to-face synchronous class sessions right here in room 507. There's face-to-face class session via Zoom. Then there's fully asynchronous, just using Canvas. And you can jump from one modality to the other every week. You don't have to pick one and stick with it. However, I'm going to ask you to look into your soul and ask yourself 4 questions before you decide which modality you're primarily going to use. Because I want you to succeed in this class, right? So first question you're going to have to ask yourself and be honest. Are you good at managing your time? Are you self-motivated? If true, then you can do the fully asynchronous and you'll be fine. That's a good choice for you. If not, or if so, you should try to come in class or come on Zoom, all right? Because then you get a little bit more support in your what's due today, what's due tomorrow, next week, whatever, right? And I'll nag you. Second question, do you need more structured environment to get your work done? Like if you're left to your own devices, do you tend to like go snack and watch TV and then like, oh yeah, I'll do it later? That's me. So if you're like that, then the in-class or the Zoom would be best. In-class would be the best. Number 3, do you desire to be around people? And would you might feel somewhat left out without those connections? I mean, this is a real thing. Then in-class and Zoom would be a better choice. Either way, make sure you use the discussions. I'll have a discussion almost every module. And that's your way to sort of reach out to the other students and communicate. And lastly, do you have other time commitments at the same time as this class? Well, obviously asynchronous is your option. But if you're going to do asynchronous, of course, I'm talking to nobody here. You need to couple that with reaching out to me when you need help. And that's true for everybody. Okay, makes sense. This is not an English class. This class is offered through the BSS division, right? That's the Business and Social Sciences, not the ELA, which is the English Library and Language Arts. If it were really an English class, it would be in the ELA, right? So why is this a business division class? Because here we're not focused on academic writing like you've probably been doing your whole academic career up till now. Like literature, poetry, not that those things are bad. Those things are beautiful. That's just not our focus in this class. Our focus is on writing for the workplace, writing in the workplace. And that most certainly will differ from what you're used to in an academic setting. For example, we strive to use the fewest words possible. There's no word counts or page minimums. Like when you get an assignment in an English class, it's like, you got to do 200 words or you got to do 10 pages, whatever. No. We try to get the smallest number of words possible to convey the message. We strive to use the simplest words possible to convey the message. You know, when you're writing your book reports and things like that, you're like, oh, I got to sound smart. I can use some big words and all that. You know, totally opposite of that. We value the effectiveness of the communication over the artistic expression of the ideas. It's not that we don't value the artistic expression of the ideas. We just value the effectiveness of the communication more, right? Writing is an art form. So given that, we still have to use proper English grammar and punctuation, and half of this course is going to be devoted to that. So that's your heads up. That's going to be a little bit of a culture shock coming from your English class academic career so far. I'm not an English teacher. I'm an engineer. Retired. I have well over 40 years of experience as an engineer. You know, still am. I'm trying to retire, but people keep calling me with work. I was an embedded software engineer for 40 years. And when people hear, oh, you're a programmer, they think you just go to work and you sit in your cubicle and you write code all day long. No, only about half of our time is spent writing code. The other half is communicating, right? Writing specs, writing theories of operation, writing proposals, just writing in general, communicating to the shareholders in the project. It's easily half, right? All the program, what do you call it? We use Kanban boards to schedule, work that needs to be done. So yeah, I've spent half of that 40 years writing. So the thing about writing that I found is that you can't really teach people how to write. It's kind of an oxymoron here. Why am I in a writing class if you're not going to teach me how to write? Writing is one of those exercises, more like maybe sports activity, learning how to swim fast or learning how to run a sub 5-minute mile, whatever your goal is, right? You don't really teach people how to do that. They have to figure it out on their own, right? But you coach them. So I don't really see myself as your English teacher or your English instructor. I'm your English coach, right? And I'm going to give you a lot of writing assignments because the way you do learn how to write is by writing. It's one of those practice makes perfect kind of things. So to me, the biggest benefit you're going to get out of this class is when I correct your writing and I give you the feedback, right? And we're going to go through all how to see that in the upcoming slides here. So, I mean, I hope you get stuff out of the class session for sure. But I really feel like the gold here is the comments that I'm going to individually give you when I correct your assignments, right? And that's where you pick up, that's the coaching. You pick that stuff up over time and your writing gets better and better. And I can absolutely guarantee you that everyone that's in this class, whatever level of writing ability you are today, at the end of this class, you'll be far superior. Okay.
So this is continuation of 156, right?
Yeah, although you can take them out of order.
Oh.
So,
Hi.
hey,
Come on in.
we have 2 Kianas in the class, or 2
Karina,
Karitas in the class, so we have to.
are you Karina too? No.
Karina
Oh.
1 and Karina 2. Okay, so the structure of the modules here all have a consistent structure. So I don't know if you recall, but last semester I was hired 1 week before school started. I taught electronics here 30 years ago. Okay, so this is my coming back to Cabrillo thing after retirement. So I was a little bit stressed in getting the modules together and getting them out in time for you all last semester. This time I had a little heads up, so I had the whole break to get ready. So hopefully the modules are more consistent and more fine-tuned, more to my level of professionalism. So they all have a similar structure. They start off with a week overview, which I just also, if you remember from last time, the three secrets of communication are tell them what you're going to do it, tell them what you did, right? So that's what I'm doing here. First thing, I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. That's the week overview. The very next thing will be the reading and review, which is a slide deck that I get from the textbook company that kind of just goes over the reading in case you haven't had a chance to do it yet or ever. Because I know that some of you just won't read textbook. And then I don't want to use the buzzwords, but we drilled down into specific topics from that reading with lectures, videos, whatnot.
So we are using the same book?
We are, and I'm going to go over our transition into 12 from 11. So yeah, we'll have slides and videos for that week's topic. There'll be assignments that you have to turn in. So that's about half of the module, and the other half of the module is grammar. We have a grammar topic each week, and there'll be assignments for those as well. Most of those I would like to do in class sessions. So if you're in class or on Zoom, freebie, you get the assignment kind of sort of done for you. And then we'll also, almost every module have a discussion that I talked about earlier. That's so you kind of, stay in contact with your peers. And then there'll be a very short module quiz. They're typically 4 or 5 questions. Those are for you, just as a check that, yeah, did I miss something in this module? Did I get everything? And then, like I said, tell them what you're going to do it, and then tell them what you did. We can have a wrap-up statement that just restates. So that'll be the structure of every module. There's one special module called reference at the end. And that is where I put all documents, whether they be charts or worksheets or whatever, that I think you will use while you write. Like it'll be nice to have at your side while you're writing. And rather than have you go, oh, where was that pronoun chart? What module was that in? Spend half an hour looking for it. I put all that kind of stuff in the reference module, and then I link to it through the other module, right? So you don't have to hunt around for that stuff. It's all in there. Okay, so topics we're going to cover this semester as opposed to 156. We're basically continuing on with the chapters we didn't cover in the textbook. And then we're going to do technical writing for the last 4 weeks of the class. We're going to have a project like we had that presentation project last time. We're going to have a technical writing project that spans 4 weeks. And of course, in there, there'll be grammar lessons as well, and how to use the 3x3 writing process. We're going to go over all that kind of stuff. Okay. So just to kind of go through the bullet list here, the things we didn't cover or didn't finish covering in the book last semester. We're going to go on to positive and neutral messages, bad news, persuasive, informal reports, proposals. We're going to do resumes. So you're going to generate your resume and at least one cover letter.
Is that on our screen or is just that?
You can follow along. Yeah.
Which one? Oh,
This is module 1.
oh, you're already.
Oh, module 0. Sorry, we haven't got to module 0. Which if you go to the home, there's a link there that says get started, go to module 0.
Oh, okay. It was the next one. I just didn't continue.
Hi, Professor Strong. I just had questions. You were saying we had a grammar module once a week?
Yes. Yeah, basically half of each module, half is a lesson out of the book or the technical writing project, and then the other half is going to be a grammar lesson with a different topic each module.
Okay, thank you.
Some of it will be review for 156 people, which, to be honest, we all need review of grammar. And I try to change it up a little bit and maybe, talk about things I didn't talk about last time about whatever the subject is. And the assignments will be different. You can't just redo the same assignment. Okay, where was I? So here's all the grammar stuff, right? We're going to do parts of speech, parts of a sentence, verb, subject, agreement, nouns, pronouns, active, passive voice, plural nouns, possessive nouns, contractions, commas, conjunctions, sentence types, colon and semicolon, quotation marks, and I don't know if I'm going to do these last two. I think I'm going to do something else there. So, hey, another thing about this class is I don't publish the modules ahead of time. I only publish the modules on the Monday that was the week of the module. The reasons for that is people jump ahead without doing stuff and they get lost, for one. The second thing is I custom tune this class to you, right? So when I grade your homework and I see what you're doing in general, I will change the upcoming modules to incorporate different things. So as we get towards the end, yeah, there's not much of a chance it's going to be what I'm planning at this point. It'll be something different. Okay, your SLOs.
That is
I'm required to tell you this. Also, this syllabus, if you notice on your Canvas, there's a syllabus link. You can go look at the syllabus there. It has all the stuff as well. So as far as grammar is concerned, how to recognize parts of speech, how it functions in a sentence, reviewing pronouns in the subjective objective cases, which we also did last time, recognize, use, convert between active, passive voice. We're going to review the plural nouns that we also did last time. Go over using apostrophe to create possessive nouns, review contractions, make verbs agree with the subject in sentences, which we did not do last time. Review conjunctions, how to use compound, complex, and compound complex sentence types. Review the 5 use cases, or 5 of the many use cases for commas. Review colon, semicolon use. Yeah, I don't know about quotations and hyphens. And then as far as composition, just in general, you're going to, write paragraphs which are grammatically correct and clearly express their content. We're going to try to enforce parallel structure, if you remember that from last time. Subordinate secondary ideas with conjunctions, use transitional expressions. We're going to start doing this week is looking at direct and indirect message strategies. Produce effective written communications and participate in your discussions and things like that. Every class session is recorded. You're being recorded right now. Online MacBook over here. And then shortly after class, probably that night, I like to go through them in iMovie and cut out the dead spots and fix bad things they said and things like that. And then I post them right here. So in your your overview section of each module, at the very end, there'll be class session recording like it is right here. And there'll be a link right there to the recording.
Oh, even better. That's great.
On YouTube. Any questions so far? Everybody on Zoom okay? Okay. If I hear crickets,
Thank you.
okay. All right, a little bit about me. My name is Dwayne Strong. So I teach CABT, but I also man the computer labs both in Aptos and Watsonville. I'm a native Santa Cruz, born and raised. I received an associate's degree from right here at Cabrillo in electronics. And then I got a bachelor's degree at University of California, Santa Cruz in computer science. And I've been working, like I mentioned, as an embedded software engineer for the last 40 years. I've written firmware. Does anybody know what firmware means? Is that something you guys understand what that means?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay, so there's software and hardware, right? Firmware is sort of in between. Firmware is software for hardware. So it's software in things like your dishwasher, your car, like that, right? We also call ourselves embedded engineers because that software is embedded in a device. So yeah, I've been an embedded software engineer for the last 40 years. I've written firmware for all kinds of things, all kinds of medical devices, avionics, a lot of audio stuff. I worked at ENU, we did synthesizers. I worked at Avid doing mixing desks, big audio mixing desks that movies like The Hobbit was mixed on. I worked for Fluke doing thermal imagers. I did 2 different LiDAR projects for self-driving cars. Worked on unmanned aircraft and all kinds of other things. I'm a senior member of the IEEE. You probably don't know what that is. If you knew what that was, you'd be suitably impressed. It's like that old Steve Martin joke. Nobody knows this, but I'm famous. All right, how you can contact me. So anytime right here in Canvas with the inbox, you can go and send me a message. That's probably the easiest way. You can email me at my Cabrillo address right there. We also have 2 pinned discussion groups. A Q&A discussion that myself, will watch as well as the other students in the class. And if you have a question about something, you can post it in there and somebody will probably get back to you pretty soon. There's also like a hangout discussion group. Neither one of those got much use last year.
I just realized that there's that.
What's that?
I just realized the Q&A is for this,
Yeah.
for discussion.
Yeah. It's just a discussion board. It's always there. If you can't figure something out, you can go in there, or you can just do the other things too. Talk to me. I'm also on Zoom on the CABT support thing. Well, let me just go through the office hours, then I'll add that. Okay, so my office hours are after this class directly over in the Aptos Computing Center. 1 to 2. But I'll be there as soon as this class is over. This class is technically supposed to go to 12:40. It never goes to 12:40. I'll have you out of here by 11:30 almost every time. But you're welcome to stay in the class here, this classroom, and we can do work together if you like, or we can, as soon as everyone's gone, basically, I will move over to the Aptos CTC and you can go over there and I can sit with you and we can go through the assignments or whatever you need. Okay, so that's 1 to 2, Wednesday. If you don't know where the Aptos Computing Center is, it's on the lower campus, parking lot M, right next to the church over there. Just by the theater, real theater. So that's Wednesday. So Thursday from noon to 8 p.m. I'm in the Watsonville Computing Center and I'm on that Zoom the whole time. So you can always just zoom in and talk to me or the whole team that's on Zoom there, or you can come in. We have textbooks there that you can take for as long as you're in that classroom. What else? That's in the Watsonville Center on the 3rd floor, all the way up to the top in the A building in the corner. I'm also there on Tuesday mornings, 9 to 12. I'm not counting that as official office hours, but I'm on that Zoom. You can zoom in and talk to me there. All right. So that's how you get a hold of me. How do I get a hold of you? So there's announcements that I will post. I don't do it every week. I'm not going to bother you that much. If it's something important, I'll put an announcement up. I would suggest, if you haven't already, that you go into your Canvas settings and turn on notifications for announcements so you'll get an email or something. There's always the Canvas inbox. That's probably the easiest way for you to get a hold of me and for me to talk to you, right? And I will nag you when your assignments are past due via that mechanism. We also have the discussion boards, as I mentioned. I monitor those and I will chime in. And then grading feedback. Like I said, I think the real gold in this class is getting the grading feedback, and we're going to go over how you do that. Any questions so far? All right. Has anyone here not used Canvas so far? Everybody on Zoom used Canvas. Everyone in the class used Canvas, right? So I don't need to spend too much time with that. I did mention that, set your notifications. As you see fit, for often you feel like getting annoyed. There is a mobile app. I wouldn't use it. A tiny little screen is such a pain, but hey, it's an option if that's all you got. I'm not going to go through this video since everyone here has already been on Canvas. If you have questions, whatever, you can certainly watch the video on your own. All right, let's talk about the discussions. So the primary way for you to communicate and interact with your classmates is through these discussions. And I have them, like I said, almost every module, maybe every module. And I participate in them, maybe not every single one, but I read them all. So here's just some tips for when you're doing the discussions. Share your own personal experience as they relate to the topic. Make connections to your own background and culture. Identify and discuss your opinion and describe why you agree to disagree with a classmate. You can put links in and share reputable sites and stuff like that. You can, add your different viewpoint, specific examples from your personal life, right? However, use appropriate language, no sarcasm, no flaming, be courteous, no do I need to say these? Don't be derogatory, and you can disagree, but don't attack, right? And I think you probably all know how to use discussion boards on Canvas. So I'm not going to play that video, but if you don't, here's a video for you to watch. Okay, so our very first discussion, icebreaker. So this one's important because I have to do the class census, I think it's next week, which determines are you in this class or not. Sure, you registered for the class, but if you don't show up for the class, you're canceled, you're withdrawn, okay? This discussion is how I know you showed up for the class, okay? So you have to put this discussion in. That way, on the first sentence, I'll say, oh, they did discussion, they're here. In general, and we'll see in the slide coming up that with the HiFlex format, we can't really just take attendance or anything because there's some people I never see, right? So the way that I know you're here is by you turning in your work. This is an example of that. If we have time later, we can do this in class. I'm going to skip over it for now. But yeah, this is important. I need everybody to do it. And it's just very simple. Like it says, icebreaker, so getting to know each other. What's your preferred name? Why are you taking the class? Did you take 156? What are your goals for your career? Where have you lived? What's the best thing about each place? How would you rate your current writing skills? Just give yourself like a 1 to 10 kind of thing, right? If you are a returning student, give some advice to the other students. What worked for you? What didn't work for you, right? And lastly, how do you plan to usually participate in the class? Which are the 3 modalities you're usually going to use? So you'll put that in, right? You say reply here. It's a little text box here. You can in fact just mark these, copy them, paste them down in there and answer them. And then there'll be a submit button at the bottom of that. And you see there's already some people here who have done it. And then after you've done that, you can wait a day or whatever. This all has to be done totally by next Wednesday class period. But before that, you're supposed to look through all the different posts and find 3 that you can start a conversation with. And try to make it just like, hi, how you doing? Whatever. Try to, oh, you lived in that city? I did too, or something like that, right? Okay.
And this is in the discussion group.
Yeah, this is one of the discussions, the first discussion. Okay, so let's talk about the materials you need for this class. So the book, we're in a transitionary period here, it's the same book, but we're moving from edition 11 to edition 12. Both work. Okay, so if you have, that's fine. It's in the bookstore, but I would not recommend spending the money, honestly.
So
right?
don't buy edition 12 if I have edition 11.
Definitely not. If you have one edition, you're good. Even if you don't have any physical things, you're good because you can read it through the library online for free, 2 hours at a time. You check it out onto your computer and read it 2 hours, right? And then next day you get another 2 hours.
I got the edition for like $15 with shipping from eBay.
Oh, like a used one?
Yeah.
So
And
that would be the 11 then probably, right?
Yeah. I ordered the old one because I'm like, I didn't get to really read the book too much because I don't like reading like books online per se. It's hard for my eyes to do it.
I totally get it. And by the way, one of the downsides of the online thing, some of our textbooks through the library online, you can do the read aloud thing, right? Not this one. This one is just like a scanned book,
Oh yeah. No, I had the ASD. They can turn it into audio for you if you need it. They did that for me.
Right. So there's a third option. You can buy the book via subscription. This is all in the libraries, on the bookstore site. You can buy the book by subscription. I think it's $60 for the year or something like that. And that will allow you to play audio. And I think the accommodations office will do that for you. Will buy it for you or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Okay, but all right, so you need this book. That's the 11 version. I've been teaching out of the 12 version for the last semester, this semester. Let's just kind of quickly, you can watch this video. This is Jen telling you how to do it, but let's just do it, right? So library site here, so click this thing, right? Library textbooks. Read library textbooks online, click that button. Go find CABT, right here. Go find this class, 156, 157. Oh, we got 2 now, right? So you got the 11 still there and you got the 12. So obviously go with 12 if you're going to read it online. That's the latest one. But whenever I assign reading, I don't do it by page number. That's the one thing that's off between the two, is the page numbers are not in sync with each other. I always assign them by section, like read section 6-1 through 6-3. So that way it doesn't matter which book you're.
Which one did you say to press on this one?
CABT, Computer Applications and Business.
I'm on the road.
Keep going. Right there. Click on that one. And then our class. And then if you click on, like click on the latest one, for example.
The one with that blue?
Yeah, the one with the blue. I'll do it too. And then you need to do the sign in, but if you already signed in, you know, we have the single sign in things, but you still have to click this button. It'll go through, and then come back. And then it's PDF chapters. You click the PDF chapters. And there you go. There you go. There you go. Right. Read the book right there. Okay,
And
makes
then
sense.
you tell it to read from here?
Like I said, this is just a scanned book. You can even see some artifacts in here if you look. Like I can see the page turned, you know, like right there. You see, that's like the spine of the book. They stand in. So since it's scanned, it won't automatically read it for you through the computer. But as was mentioned, if you go to the ASC office, they can set you up to be able to do that with that subscription thing. So we also have hard copy books in both Aptos and Watsonville CTCs. They have been updated to the 12. You could go in there and read them, but you can't take them away from the labs. You have to use them in the lab. All right, so that's the textbook. Obviously, we're using Canvas. It seemed like everybody was already down with the whole Canvas drill, but if you have questions on how to use Canvas, whatever, you can talk to me. It's okay. Pretty much any kind of computer will run it, Mac or PC. However, if you have a Chromebook, let's talk about Chromebook for a second. Chromebook's not the best situation. Does it even run Canvas? I think it'll run Canvas, but the next thing on here, software that we use Microsoft Word, which is installed on all the computers here at Cabrillo. So that's not a problem if you're here. If you want to use it on your own computer, if you don't already have it, you can install it for free as long as you're an enrolled Cabrillo student. And I have the steps right here for doing that. It can be a little tricky. So if you can't figure it out from the steps I have on here, just come in and either talk to me on Zoom or come into the labs and we can bring your computer in and we can set it up for you. But the crux of it is you have a Microsoft account that's your student number, right? So you download and you install the 365 suite, but then you have to log into your Microsoft account with your student number, and most people have already logged in. They made their own one or whatever, right? That's where everyone gets tripped up. And then the only other piece of software you need is Adobe Reader or something, some way to read PDF files. Okay, obviously your normal things, note-taking supplies binder, USB flash drive. Does everybody have a USB flash drive? Does anybody need one? Want to know? I got them.
Cool. Oh, we can get them from class?
You can get them from me, yeah.
What colors do you have?
Okay.
What's your favorite color?
If I've been going with green, do you have green?
Of course I have green.
Ooh.
But you even get a lanyard this time.
Yes, please, because I do some.
Oh, yeah, pink one?
You want a pink one?
Yeah.
Can I get one next Wednesday?
Yeah, sure. I don't know if this is pink. It's almost more magenta,
Yeah.
but it's got a pink lanyard.
Thank you.
What's your favorite color?
Red.
Red. There you go.
Let's just get a fresh one.
Sure.
I won't lose it this time.
Oh, you probably will. Just to commiserate with you on that, here's mine. I have this giant IBM lanyard on it, so I won't
I
forget.
think that's the way to go with those.
It's so easy to plug them into the computer and then you're like walk away.
Forget
You've got
it,
something
yeah.
hanging off of it. It's a little dark.
Or if it falls out, you don't see it unless it's got a big piece on
Yeah,
it.
right, yeah. Those are 4 gig USB drives, which would be way more than you need for this class. I just have to mention that you're gonna get a lot of old guy stories, so these are 4 GB drives, USB drives. They cost me, I think, $2 a piece or something like that. I can remember I was so happy to buy a 5 MB hard drive, which was as big as a lunch pail,
Oh my goodness.
and it was $300 in 1980, right?
Oh, and that had a lot of space at the time.
Oh, it was like 5 MB. I will never fill that up. Okay. All right, so let's talk about the USB flash drive for a second. So if you're on computers here at Cabrillo, you probably noticed from the screensaver thing, it's got a big message that tells you when you log off, everything you have saved on this computer is wiped out. It's called deep freeze. We use this deep freeze technology. That's so some joker won't, change settings and you put porn on the screen or something like that, right? So every time you log off, and you should always log off when you're done using your computer so someone else doesn't get on there and use your account. Anything you just saved on the computer will be gone. So don't save your work on the physical computers at Cabrillo. Put in that USB drive, right? Save it on the USB drive. Now, when you're done, you just grab that lanyard and you pull it out, right? No, you will lose work, right? You have to eject it. So I got a little tutorial here. I just really don't want people to lose their work, so I'm going through this, right? So on Windows, you'll find go into the browser thing here, what do you just call it? What do they call it? File Explorer. Thank you. Go to File Explorer and you find the USB drive in the list of drives. And if you right click on it, you'll get this context menu and there's an eject thing in that menu. You have to click that and then a second will go by and this will pop up. Do not pull that USB drive out until you see this message, safe to remove. Okay, as soon as you see this, you can go ahead and pull it out. Now, why is that? Why do they do a stupid thing like this? Well, the way any drive in a computer works is if you write something or whatever and you say save and it saved it to the drive right that very second, things would be extremely slow because it takes a long time to flush stuff out to the drive. So they all use caches, right? And I don't mean cache like CSH, I mean cache like CACH, right? So there will be some data that you did, maybe it's your Word file that you've been working on for the last 2 hours, whatever. It's sitting in memory cache. It hasn't been flushed out to the USB drive yet. Okay, so that's why if you just yank that USB drive out, all that data that you just worked on that's sitting in that cache, lost. When you do this eject button, that forces a flush of that cache out to the drive. Okay. Similarly, if you're on a Mac, kind of the same thing. You go to the Finder, you find whatever the name. This is called flash drive. That was the name of that drive. It'll be called something else, no name or something like that, right? And the little eject button is right there. So you just click that. And it doesn't give you a pop-up thing, but what happens is this goes away. When this goes away, it's okay to take it out. Okay, so please don't lose your work. Okay, the other things you can do besides the USB drive is you can also, use any kind of cloud storage accounts that you might have, your Google Drive, OneDrive. You can even email things to yourself, whatever, right? USB drive is probably the simplest. Okay, as I mentioned, we can't really take attendance here because we have asynchronous learners in HiFlex. So the way we do attendance is by your participation. If you check things in, then I know you're here. If you don't check things in, then I'm assuming you're not here. And that's why it's critically important that you do that module 0 discussion, right? That's how I know you showed up for the class at least once. Okay, just a few guidelines about what to expect in terms of timing. It's a 3-unit class, so that means you should figure on something like 6 to 8 hours per week for doing your homework and projects and whatnot. So, as you're planning out your day or your week or whatever with all your other classes, think about what works best for you. Do you like to do it all in one big blast for one class, or do you like to do little bits throughout the week? There's not a right answer here. It's just think about what works best for you. Don't wait till the last minute, please. We'll talk about late work in a second here. Yeah, the mammoth sessions, I know it's famous. Oh, we're gonna get some pizza and we're gonna work till 3 o'clock in the morning. That's not the best. So try to set aside a time, designate a time each week to go over the reading, do your work, whatever. Make sure you log in at least once in a while to see if I made any announcements. Participate in the discussions, and please try to read the chapters out of the textbook. And again, I'll just say it for the third time. The drop policy is if you haven't done the discussion icebreaker by census day, you're dropped. So make sure you do that. If you do fall behind, I mean, I get it. Everybody has things going on, car breaks down, get sick, whatever, life happens, right? But if you get to a point where you're behind, I will be sending you nag messages automatically through the grade book. It's like, you're behind, you're behind, you're behind. But if you feel like, I've fallen so far behind, I don't know if I can make it back, please talk to me first before you drop the course, right? We can work something out. We'll get you back online. I want every single person to pass this class. Okay, grading criteria. The discussion surveys are 50%, module quizzes are 50%, assignments 30, quizzes and exams 40. Hey, I got quizzes here twice. So yeah, we have two different kinds of quizzes. It's important to know the difference. We have module quizzes and what I call CABT quizzes. The module quizzes are those little simple 4 or 5 question things at the end of each module, which is your means to make sure you covered everything and okay, I got it, right? You can take those over and over again as many times as you want. The highest score goes into the grade book. So after you take it once, you get all the answers. So second time, you can put in the right answers, right? And those aren't worth that much, 50% of the grade. The CABT quizzes are a big deal. The CABT quizzes are essentially your study guide for the following exam. That'll be there's a 1 week gap between them. So you need to really do those worth 40% of your grade. Even if you feel you're not ready, do it anyway. Some points are better than no points. Those you cannot take as many times as you want. You get one time, they're timed. If you have accommodations with me through the office, you have extended time. Yeah, I just can't say enough that you have to do those quizzes, right? So late. So officially, I'm going to tell you that assignments turned in late have a reduced value of 20% per week, and after 5 weeks late, they're not worth anything. I have not been enforcing this, and I won't enforce this unless we get into real trouble where no one's doing anything and everyone's behind.
Well, there's a saying that says better late than never.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, I'd rather have you do it late than not, right? And I haven't been dinging people, the reduction points. I've been giving full credit for late. That said, if you abuse that, I'm going to go back to this policy. Also, it's like laying down bricks, making a brick wall, right? The first course of bricks, hey, it's called the course of bricks. Like the course here. First course of bricks you lay down, it's got to be solid before the next course of bricks can go on top of that. If you're missing a brick or they're all wiggly waggly, guess what the next one's going to look like? It's going to be wiggly waggly and that one missing thing, right? So we've got to get that base in before you can go on to the next thing. Grading scale, it's your typical grading scale, right? Everybody last time passed.
Yay.
Well, one student moved away and one student died, so.
We had a student that passed away.
Yeah.
What's that? Not Caleb.
No, it was Hirschhorn. Jennifer. Remember?
It does ring a bell.
Yeah. She had a heart condition that I didn't know about. She's kind of a big girl. Glasses.
Wasn't she on Zoom?
Yeah, she was on Zoom. Yeah, sure. When she was in class.
Yeah, Oh,
Yeah, she
That-
passed away. It's sad.
Oh, terrible.
Okay, sorry for that,
Sad.
reduce. Oh, if you want to do a pass, no pass, this has been changed. This is just the rules as I know them. You fill out this pass, no pass request form, and you can only do that up to a certain date, which is in the syllabus. 30% of the, you can't go past 30% of the course. But I think they just recently changed this where you can pretty much request pass, no pass, like all the way up to almost the end of the semester. Not sure about that, so you can ask, if that's a thing, you can go ask. I know that you can do it right now in your self-service thing, you can go in and if you want, you can say pass, no pass if you want to. And this, I think this is kind of a new thing in Canvas, there's this what if grade thing. If you care about it, you
Like
can
it, but
go look and say, what if I did this assignment and this cherry pick, right? If I did it, what would my grade be? But do them all. Okay, it's 10:30, so I am required to give you a 10-minute break every 50 minutes. So let's do the 10-minute break. If I can put the timer on. Okay, where do we leave off? Grades and feedback. Yeah, again, everybody looks like they're experts on Canvas, so I won't play this video. You know how to go to the grades part and see what work needs to be done. I also mentioned, probably the most useful thing is if you go to your dashboard, you get the to-do thing on the right-hand side over here. So at least for me, this will be true for all of your classes that you have all on Canvas, all of them will be up here. It's like, this is what I need to do, you know, this is coming up as far as due date.
You have to go to the home.
Go to the dashboard thing, that little, looks like a speedometer.
Oh, yeah. See you.
Yeah. So, I mean, what I do as far as grading is I go to this thing and I just work down my list. So it's like everything that's people have turned in, and you can do the same thing too. That's a useful thing. So how do you get feedback from me? We talked about this some ways. Every assignment has a rubric on it at the bottom that tells you how I'm scoring it. So you can look at that if there's questions. I will almost always give you feedback on your assignments in the little comments thing, which you will see by reviewing your submitted assignments in the next video. I am going to play that one. And again, like I said, that's the most useful part is seeing my, comments on your turned in assignments. That's my coaching to get you to write better. And then sometimes we did this a lot last semester. I think I'm not going to do it as much this semester. We use the track changes feature in Microsoft Word because last semester, almost all the assignments were here's a document, fix it, right? Make it better, learning using what you just learned. And so to see how you did that, I'd ask you to turn on track changes. If you never use track changes in Word, it's a thing that you turn on in the reviewing ribbon. And then everything you do, additions, deletions, movements, whatever, it keeps this journal on the right-hand side saying, you deleted this, you added this, whatever, and it links back into the document. This semester is more, you're more on your own. Instead of giving you a document, I still will do this once in a while. Instead of giving you a document that's like, see this document, it's not right, fix it. It's more like, start from a blank slate, write me a correct message for whatever thing we're doing, right? So the track changes there isn't very useful. Also, I did get some feedback from people that the track changes thing is kind of like, yikes, it's very distracting when you're trying to type because it's keeping all these red marks about what you're doing. You can actually keep the track changes on while you're editing, but turn off temporarily the viewing of it to avoid that. But in general, I'm not going to use it as much this time. And then I do my best to try and grade things definitely within 1 week of the due date. I usually try to do it within that day or the next day. Okay, So how do you view my comments to you on your assignment? So this is only a 1 minute, 53 seconds. So let's take a look at this one.
How do I view assignment comments from my instructor? In course navigation, click the grades link. Locate the assignment and click the comment icon. View the comments in the assignment. For each comment, you can view the author, date, and time of the comment. To view the assignment details, click the feedback icon. Any instructor comments added to your submission, as well as any comments added by you, appear in the feedback portion of the sidebar. These comments can be text comments, media comments, or attached files. To view a media comment, click the play button. To control the volume, speed, and size of the media player, click the volume, captions, settings, and full screen buttons. To open an attached file, click the file name link. Your assignment submission also displays comments. Click the title of the assignment. If you submitted the assignment with a file upload, your instructor may have included annotated feedback in your assignment. On the submission details page, files that support annotations display a View Feedback link next to the submission. If annotated comments have been added to an assignment, the View Feedback link displays an indicator. While viewing submission details, you can also view media comments by clicking the play icon or view attached files by clicking the file name link. When viewing comments from your instructor, you can also leave your own comment in the Add a Comment area. This guide covered how to view assignment comments from an instructor.
Okay, hope that was clear. Also, I'm mentioning this what if grade thing. If you did have a question like where do I stand right now? Go to the grades, go to your grades, and there's this what if thing. You can click on this link here to learn more how to use it. But it can kind of tell you, where you are and what would your grade be if you did this, that, and the other thing. Okay, this is my least favorite slide. So I have to talk to you about academic integrity. So no cheating, honesty in academic work. It's got to be your own work. That's really the only thing here. It's got to be your own work, right? So your hands on your keyboard. You can work with other students. You can collaborate stuff, ask questions, whatever. But the actual work has to be your own. Again, your fingers on your keyboard. Okay. There's some documents here that I'm not going to go into. You can look at them if you want to, which is the official Cabrillo rights and responsibilities for integrity. But I will give you some advice. There's also this MIT thing about what is academic integrity, but basically it's, use kind of your gut feeling about things. Trust your own value of your own intellect, right? Just don't take what other people say for granted. And I think what I mentioned last time is when you see something on the internet, especially now with all the deepfakes and all that stuff, you have to ask yourself, says who? Who can I attribute this to? Right? If it's just some guy, but if it's, NBC or Al Jazeera or something, okay, those are respected news outlets, use your own gut for that, right? If you are copying something from someone else, I mean, that's okay as long as you credit them, right? For their work. But you really should try to demonstrate your own achievements and abilities and ask me for help. Ask for more time if you need it. So those are the do's, the don'ts. No form of generative AI to create your paper. So basically we disallow AI in this class. I know I can't stop you from doing it. There's no way I can enforce it. I can smell AI generated papers a mile away. But I'm just going to tell you this, okay? You're here to learn how to write. If you're just using AI to do the writing, you're not learning anything. Okay, you go to I've heard this argument. Why should I learn how to write? I have ChatGPT. I can just use that for everything. All right, so let's say I'm an employer. You're interviewing for a job. When you come to me and I ask you, oh, how would you rate your writing skills? And you say, well, I don't really know how to write, but I just use Chat GPT for everything. What I'm going to say is, well, I can do that. Why would I need you? What's your value add, right? I need somebody that can do this stuff on their own. I need somebody who can write stuff that's not already out there on the internet that the generative language model pulled from, right? It's novel. So that doesn't really cut the mustard, right? We're going to talk about AI here in just a second. Okay, so obviously don't do that. Don't buy papers or have somebody else write it for you. Don't copy stuff from other people without citing the source it came from. Don't copy answers from another student. And don't ask the student to do your work for you. Again, you can collaborate on stuff, but your own hands on your own keyboard. All right. This is the part I read. Using AI tools. I could teach an entire semester class on just this. Okay, so I'm going to have to condense this down into just a moment. Okay, so the first thing I hear from people is, oh, this AI thing, it's brand new, whatever. AI is not new. AI has been around since 1960 and even before that. And here's a link you can go and watch it if you want to. It talks about the history of chatbots. First chatbot was made in 1966. Okay, I used it. Yeah, sure, nowhere near the level of technology that we have today, okay? But you've been using AI your whole life, whether you know it or not. If you're using, say Siri, I don't want to make anybody's phone go off. Alexa, Cortana, the Google image searches, that's all AI, right? I don't know if you remember this, you probably don't, but back in the day, browser, the URL line on the browser would only take correctly formed URL, right? You could only put in a site.com, boom. That was the only thing it would take. Somewhere, in the years past, Google started adding more and more things. Now you can just ask a question, natural language processing right there in your browser, right? And that's what we do now. We don't go like, oh, take me to the site. We ask the question, what's the current state of the design rules for integrated circuit manufacturing, whatever the question is, and it finds the stuff for us, right? That's all AI, right? But the one that right now is getting all of your attention and is a huge hype bubble is the generative AI tools like ChatGPT, right? And Claude and Gemini and all the others, right? And those tools work by taking a user prompt, as you well know, and then they've basically taken the entire internet and squished it into their statistical model, and it predicts each next word that it's going to put out based on how likely it has been out on the internet, given all the words up to that point, right? So is it intelligent? No. Does it know what it's saying? No, right? It's just a big statistical model that's predicting based on its training data from its large language model that is pulled off the internet, copyrighted material and not. Yeah, do you know you can get the entire Harry Potter novel by going into ChatGPT and asking it twice?
Really?
It will dump the entire copyrighted book.
Only
That is
that one,
not
but it's
cool.
back up with them.
It'll do all kinds of stuff. It's all totally not cool, right?
So
That's all
totally not
copyrighted
cool.
work. They're stealing. Okay, so yeah. No matter how you slice it, that's plagiarism, right? They're taking someone else's work and presenting it as their own, and then you take it as presenting it as your own, and without giving any credit. And the tools right now, for the most part, don't have a means to attribute what they generate to whatever training sources it came from. So, I mean, it doesn't mean that these new AI tools are bad. They don't have meaningful applications. They do, but just way less than all the hype that you're getting right now. I feel like I have to play devil's advocate here. Anytime there's a disruptive technology, anybody remember Y2K? Maybe you do.
I do,
Y2K,
99.
share with the class what that was about.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that the computers, the world was gonna end, but the computers were gonna run out of data and the banks were gonna be closed. Everybody was going chaotic.
Airplanes were going to fall out of the sky.
Yes,
Right.
everything was gonna stop working.
Right. And the reason was because lazy programmers that we were in 19 whatever before that, for years, to encode a year on your
Even
bill or
Prince.
whatever.
Even Prince.
We wouldn't say, because memory was expensive back then, we wouldn't say like 1995, we would just say 95, assuming it was 1995. Well, when year 2000 rolled around, Y2K, all the software went to 1900, right? And everyone that didn't know what they were talking about, right? If you asked engineers, what's going to happen in Y2K, we'd say, I don't worry about it. Everything's fine, right? But if you went on the television and watched all these talking heads, they were like, airplanes are going to follow the sky, right? We're going through the same thing right now with this AI, right?
Midnight. And we're gonna be 3 days with no light.
Oh my gosh,
Everybody's
people
gonna
were
turn
like-
on their cat,
Yeah, people were like making shelters and stuff. I thought it was the end of the world.
making the silver cones in there.
And hey, with AI right now, people are doing the same thing. Oh, AI is going to take over the world and it's going to like kill us all and stuff. Like, don't believe. So my point here is that anytime there's a disruptive technology happening, like right now, all the snakes come out that don't know what they're talking about because they're trying to make a buck on your fear, uncertainty, and doubt, right? Your FUD, right? If you're worried about something, they're going to try and make a buck out of that. Yeah, Marcella. Raise your hand. Nope, crickets. What's your-
She said something on the chat, Professor Doing, that she can't hear.
Oh, she can't hear? Everybody else okay though, right, on Zoom? Audio's good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. Having some kind of problem. I'll have to get back to him. I'll have to get back to her. Okay, so where was I in my rant? Oh yeah, just like anytime there's disruptive technology, all these snake people come out trying to sell you their snake oil and trying to make you worried and whatever. And that's where you're in right now, big time, right? However, this bubble is now bursting. It's already happening. I mentioned it last semester that it's starting to burst. It's totally in the burst cycle right now. OpenAI is out of money. They've burned through $170,000 a minute, and they have no paying customers. And they've run out of all their venture capital money. And the venture capital people now are saying, you need to come up with a business plan where we can make our money back, or you're not getting any more. So they're out of money, right? So what are you going to start seeing now? You're going to start seeing ads in your chat GPTs and things like that, right? Somehow they have to figure out a way to make money. Let's talk about Copilot, Microsoft's entry into this. Microsoft is forcing Copilot down everyone's throat with their Windows 11 updates. It's breaking everything and everybody hates it. AI tools can, like any tools, some of them are good, some of them are bad. Copilot's bad. It makes slop, makes AI slop. You guys probably heard that term, AI slop. It's so easy to generate junk now, right? I fell prey to this. I was buying a book on Amazon, a Kindle book on technical writing. And I got it, and it was so obviously just generated by AI. It even had like the prompt junk still in it. And I was like, really? So yeah, that's where we are right now. I got some articles here you can read if you want to about how this bubble's bursting. I'll just briefly mention that last year or late last year, there was a MIT study where they went around to businesses and interviewed them about their AI strategies. And all the businesses said, 95% of those businesses said their AI efforts were not delivering any measurable value. 95%? I mean, usually on these kinds of things, these surveys that these universities do, they come back with like 8% of these people said that. It's like, no, this is 95% of all businesses are saying their AI efforts are doing nothing for them, right? Duolingo, I don't know if you ever used Duolingo to learn a language. They decided they were just going to like fire all of their people that were generating their content and just AI only. It was a disaster. It still is a disaster. They're basically going to go out of business. Here's a video from Cory Doctorow. I don't know if you guys know this guy. He's a very interesting guy. He's written a lot of books about technology and whatnot. And he has a lot of interesting takes on it. And again, we're not Luddites here. So like I said, people who don't know what they're talking about, these snakes come out and try to sell you their snake oil. Just to give you some context, I studied AI when I was in university. I studied under Dr. Levinson. We wrote AI programs. I wrote an AI program that played this checkerboard game against other computers, right? So I know what I'm talking about. That said, there's some really cool stuff about AI. The chatbot stuff is amazing. You can get these chatbots and you just feed them like the manual to some product or whatever, and then you can interact with it. Hey, chatbot, how do I turn this thing on? And it will use that language model that it got from that manual and give you a response, which is a really cool way to interact with data. Right? Okay, enough of that.
And a lot of eye candy, everything looks beautiful, colorful.
Yeah, and everything, there's a lot of fake stuff out there, right? And these deep fakes, basically impossible to tell.
Oh, yeah.
They're fake, so we
That's
got to be
where we're
very,
at.
very careful. Okay, these are all things that I am required to tell you. So diversity, inclusion. We all have to get training in this, and all of my materials have been with this in mind. So, but if you have any suggestions about other ways, like, the whole thing about the textbook reading from the library can't be read from the auto reader on the computer. I didn't know about that until a student brought it to my attention, right? So if you have suggestions about things that I could improve in terms of diversity and inclusion, please let me know. We already kind of mentioned this on the discussion group thing, but we encourage you to share your own unique experiences, values, and beliefs. Be open to the views of others, value differences and commonalities, and appreciate the opportunity we have to learn from each other. Cabrillo is a very diverse student body, right? We have people straight out of high school. I just talked to a lady learning Italian yesterday. She was like 80 years old, right? So we have everything across the board. Veterans, disabled people, everybody. Okay, there's an Office of Student Equity that you can look at and talk to, see more information. And if you want to report any discrimination or harassment, I'm sure you've all got this from all your other courses, module zeros, but the just report it, which is at the bottom of every single page on the Cabrillo website. You click that and you can report any kind of discrimination, harassment, or Title IX things. Okay, let's talk about tech support for a second. You have so much support here, it's insane. So there is a Cabrillo Canvas help desk. That's used to be called the Transformative Learning Center, but they just renamed it back now to what? Teaching Learning Center or something like that. Anyway, you can phone them, you can email them. They're also on Zoom. What their hours are. But Trisha, she's a really nice lady. She'll help you with any Canvas questions, and we can help you with the simple stuff, right? There's a Canvas hotline. This is actually from the company, right? I don't know how well this works, so we used it. But the main things for you will be the on-campus tech support. So through the CPC, Library, the Hub, or the ILC in Watsonville, and we're on Zoom from like 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. almost every day. I think it's closes early on Friday and Saturday, and not open Sunday. You can just go on Zoom and we'll ask you. There's like 5 of us on there. We'll help you with any question you have. Okay. Accessibility, usability, universal design. So we've also designed all our materials to try to accommodate people with disabilities or different learning styles. English second language, new to learning, working on mobile devices. And I want to show you this immersive reader. If you haven't used immersive reader, it's this button up here on your canvas. I'll show it to you really quickly for a second. So it's I was like, what the heck just happened, right? Well, one of the goals for vision impaired students, right? So it starts off this way, but you can quickly go here and just crank this down. And what you can do is it can read for you, right? There's a speaker thing down there. It can read it for you, anything on your screen. You can change the font, whatnot, whatever. But the interesting things for us is that you can ask it to show things like, show me all the nouns. show me all the verbs. Show me all the adjectives, right?
In
Let's-
color.
Yeah, so color codes them, and also you can turn on this little label thing, and it'll put a little label next to each one, right? Noun, verb, adjective. Super helpful for this class. You can also turn the syllables thing. It will show you where the syllable breaks are. And then on this one, if you have ADD or whatever, you can have it focus just to a little slit, and it will just show you, and it'll scroll through that. So it's sort of like holding a bookmarker on your page, you know, the focus. And then you can translate to any other language. You can translate to Spanish if you want to, right? And you can do that either by word, where you'll hover over a word and it'll translate to
Yeah.
Spanish, or you can do the whole document and it'll just completely change the whole document in Spanish or whatever language you choose from, right? And this picture dictionary is a thing where if you hover over a word, it pops up a little picture thing of trying to define the word, right? So it can be super useful. Okay, so that's the immersive reader. And then if you need more time on tests, or you need to take tests in a different place, which that really isn't a thing for us because all our tests are on Canvas, you can go to Accessibility Support Center, ASC, and they'll talk to you, interview you, and figure out, you know, what you need. And then they send me an email. I get an email, I've gotten one already, with your accommodations. Like if you need more time on tests and how much time that is. Every time I do a quiz or test, I go in and I set for that individual person what their accommodation is. So hey, talk to these people if you feel like you need extra support. Right? Okay. Yeah, so much support. Crazy. So here's all the kinds of support you can get here. Me, obviously. The hub for tutoring. NetTutor is an online thing. There's actual people. It's not an AI thing. There's human beings out there, and you can ask them questions. You can send them a paper and say, "Can you please proofread this for me?" Well, like, sure, we'll proofread that for you. We've talked about this over and over again. We have the two CTCs, one here and one in Watsonville. You can either show up or zoom in. Watsonville ILC, the library. We went through how to read our textbook there. There's more and more and more and more. Let's go through this real quick. So here's all the career tutoring services. I'll let you guys look at this on your own. Here's the NetTutor. You can check that out on your own. Here's the CTC, ILC, library, and then look at all this other stuff. You have all these things, right? There's career services, food and housing resources at Nest. You know, there's a food giveaway here every Wednesday morning, I think, where the steps are in front. And there's one at Watsonville as well. You can go on this website to see what the schedules are for that. On and on and on. Programs for veterans, all that kind of stuff. Okay. You can even get temporary loans. Okay, so this is just noting that we have these, what I call the pinned discussions. They're always there. They're not part of any assignments, right? So we have a QA discussion. And I see I already have somebody asking me a question. Let's get back to it. We have that one, and we have the student lounge. If you just want to talk to people, you can do that one too. Okay. All right, here's a tiny little quiz. I'll let you take this on your own. It's just very simply going over, you know, what you just saw today. So, and again, these are the module quizzes. You can take them over and over again until you get them all right if you want to, whatever you want to do. Okay. This is optional, although I just had, I think Kiana told me, hey, it wasn't optional. Maybe it forced me to do it. So I'll check, maybe I have a setting wrong on that, but there's this survey that we would like you to fill out. Gives us, you know, some data that we can use to improve class. And then if you haven't already done this form in semesters past, there's a CABT department form where, you know, sometimes we get requests from employers and contact you through that if you'd like. All right, so that was the orientation module. Now we get to start the real module, week one. Okay. Some of this will be reviewed for the 156 people, so hopefully it'll go pretty fast. There is a long video in here that I do want to get to, so Here's the reading review. So reading sections 6-1 and 6-2. Routine emails, memos, and letters. So yeah, by far, most of the stuff you will write in a business environment will be in the positive or neutral information category. Includes these things, right? Simple requests, I need this, can you do this for me? Replies back, yeah, I can do that for you, I'll get to you tomorrow. Explanations, constructions, and then we're gonna drill into these direct claims and complaints. So yeah, email is taken over, obviously. Use email for everything. It's most frequently used things. And memos are still around, but they usually just attach them to the email, send them out. However, actual snail mail letters are still very important. We're going to go over that in a second. We're going to go over all this in detail in the slide deck coming up. So I'm not going to go over here. Format. Okay, so typical request, response, and instruction messages. That's what we're talking about this week. So when you're writing a direct request message, why do we call it a direct request message? Because it's going to use the direct message strategy that you learned last time. We're going to go over that again anyway. Where in the opening, you just start right off saying what you think. You're going to ask the most important question or express a polite command or state the main idea right at the get-go. And then in the body, after that, you follow it up with your explanations or requests or more info. And then in the closing, you typically will have an action item. I'm asking you, can you do this? Can you have it to me by next week, right? Thank you very much, right? So that's kind of the general format. So when you're writing a request, we're going to use this direct message strategy. And in doing that, you front load your message, meaning what I just said. You put everything first, and then you follow it up with the details. Big idea. Then you provide your details, then you close, right? And then when you respond, it's similar, right? When responding to a request, you'll probably have a subject line, which is the summary of what this request is responding to, right? And then similarly, the direct strategy, opening, directly respond to the request with a summary, body, include additional information, details, closing, add a concluding remark, summary, and offer further assistance. Okay, I'm not going to get too much into this, but social media is a big deal now. So we need to talk a little bit about how do you interact with people on social media. Customer reviews are really important these days. Although I gotta say, whenever I look at a review of something, it's like generally people only review it if they've had a bad experience, right? So take it for what it's worth. And 75% of consumers have an expectation that a business is going to respond to you like on the same day or within an hour or immediately. So typically a company will have a dedicated person or persons that's all they do. They'll just sit there watching the social media accounts and trying to respond to them.
I want a dentist appointment. Is that okay if I head out?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything's on campus.
I'll get that homework done.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, thank you.
Okay, so what are some best practices for replying to social media posts? They recommend only responding to posts when you can add value. If you can't add any value, if they're just ranting or something, you can't add any value, best not to even really respond. Be positive, transparent, honest, timely, and helpful if you can. Okay, so that was the social media thing. One thing, I skip over it. Where is it coming up? One thing about social media, this is when we get to the replies, was similar to what we talked about last time. Everything on the internet is forever. So if you're going to go on and rant about something, just be aware that it's going to be there forever. Is that really how you want people to see you, right? Especially prospective employers. Guess what? They're going to look at your social media accounts. If they see you're like going crazy off on some stupid thing, it's probably not going to be good for you, right? Okay, so we talked about the different moods last semester. I don't know if you remember, but as far as like giving directions, it's best to use the imperative mood. What does that mean? Well, as opposed to the indicative mood. Indicative mood is like, Just giving you information. The contract must be signed immediately. Okay, but it wasn't telling you to do it. It was just giving you a fact. Yeah, that contract needs to be signed immediately. Whereas the imperative mood is saying, it's giving you a command. Sign the contract immediately. So it's best to stay in this mood with instructions. So if you're revising your instruction message, make sure you provide clear explanations. It's typically going to be a bulleted, itemized list. Again, I got this slide from the textbook company. Provide itemized and numbered steps. Not great English for an English textbook. I think they just meant number the steps. So use the action verb and the imperative command. Use parallel language. Do we remember what parallel language is? Last time we'll go over that. It's best not to dwell on past failures and things. Don't blame. They don't care about blaming people. They just want their problem solved, right? Okay. All right, this will be a little bit of review for the 156 people, but we're going to talk about business letters for a second here. Because like I said, sure, the world's gone to email, but letters still are important in some contexts. Right. Still, with all the electronic media we have, a letter remains a very powerful and effective way to get your message across. That's why you get so much snail mail. So yeah, we're going to use email for almost everything, but there are certain cases where a business letter is necessary. Permanent record is required. Confidentiality is paramount. Formality and sensitivity are essential, and a persuasive, well-considered presentation is important. We're going to go through each of those. So permanent record is required. A lot of businesses, you'll do your initial transactions using the tools that we just went over, probably on email, maybe even on Slack or chats or anything like that. But at the end of the day, when like the contract is closed or whatever it may be, that will be through a written letter, right? And that is filed away in company files as, here's the final word on that contract. Confidentiality. You can't even send certain things through email. Thing that comes to my mind is medical records. There's a law, the HIPAA law, Health Information Protection and Privacy Act. It is illegal to send people's health information through regular email. You'll never get just a plain vanilla email from your doctor with your test results. Either they will make you go through their portal, which you have to sign into and all that, right? Or they send you a letter, or both. Email can be read by anybody, really. You have no idea who can read your email. Certainly
hack into your account.
Hack into your account, but even not that. Especially if you're using a business email account, you don't own that. You should have no expectation of privacy there. It's owned by the business. There's people in the IT department that are reading your emails, okay? So what's the best way to send a message that won't get hacked? It's snail mail letter, right? Has not saying that can't get stolen or hacked, but it's the least likely form of long distance communication to be intercepted, misdirected, forwarded, retrieved, or otherwise inspected by someone you don't have in mind. What about formality and sensitivity? So you get a lot of emails, and some of them are bogus, some of them are real, but you don't give them, they don't have that gravitas that you get when you get a mail from, say, the IRS, you get a letter, you're going to open that one, right? So they're on usually a company stationery, which gives them a sense of formality. It's not just some guy sending you an email from Nigeria, right? They deliver more information than email because they're printed with the logos and the addresses and the titles and the contact details and all that you might not have in your email. And then, people, including yourselves, will take more time to write a formal letter than you will an email generally. So if you need to be persuasive and you can't do it in person or on the phone, the business letter is the more effective than email for being persuasive. Again, that's why you still get so much. You take the time to consider your writing, and you use this 3x3 method, which we've talked about a lot last semester. We have 3 phases, pre-writing, drafting, and revising. And in each one of those phases, we have 3 activities. Okay. We're going to go into this in more detail. I have one video that I'm going to show you about the 3x3, and I think that's all I'm going to do for now. We're going to revisit this at the end of the class, at the end of the whole class, when we do our technical writing project. And you know, people that had 156 already went through this. Okay, so let's talk about the formatting or styles of the formal business letter. I mentioned it's kind of like a Japanese tea ceremony. There's a definite ceremony that you go through. People expect it to look a certain way, certain margins, certain alignment, right? So everything, we're going to use the block style, which is the most common kind of letter style. In the block style, all the items are left aligned, right? So it's like you're in Word, and I have a Word template file for you here, so you don't have to remember how to do all this stuff. Just follow that template. Everything's left aligned in block style, aligned to the left margin, not indented, no hanging indent, not justified. You know what I mean when I say justified? It's where they change the space in between words to fill it out left to right. We don't do that. It's too hard to read. Placing the items, we're going to go over the 6 items you need in order with the correct space in between those items. So usually these are printed on a letterhead paper. So the physical layout is critically important. Margin should be on the left and the right, single space, 12-point type, 1 page or shorter if possible. Like we've been saying, usually use a pre-printed letterhead. So you usually need to, in your Word document, you need to leave a top margin that can skip over that printed letterhead, often 1.5 to 2 inches. Okay, so every letter needs to have at least these 6 basic parts. Needs to have the heading, which can be the letterhead if pre-printed. If it's not, you need to print your info on the heading. And that is followed with the current date. The second thing is the inside address. We call this the inside address because it's the same address that was on the outside on the envelope. It's the person you're sending it to, but it's also on the letter itself right after the heading. The salutation with a colon at the end. Then the body of the message. The closing with the official sign-off before the signature and with a comma. The signature, preferably you leave a space where you physically sign it in ink legible. Here's an example. Okay, so here's the heading, right? This is you or the company, right, that's writing this letter. The date, part number 1. The inside address, this is the person it's going to. The same thing that was on the outside of the envelope. The salutation, notice the colon. Here's the body, right? Here's the closing with comma, signature. Now, here's an optional 7th thing. Sometimes you'll have additional sheets of paper that are in this envelope with this thing. You can have enclosures, which list those enclosures you have there. Okay, so here's a little quick checklist. Did you do all 6 things? Did you think about what the purpose of this communication was of your letter when you write the body? What was the tone of the message? Positive, neutral, or negative? How would you describe the tone? Is it informal, professional, friendly? We went over all this last semester. If you could make 1 sentence of your letter, which is a good example of what the tone was, what would it be? And then ask yourself, which one way I could make this thing better? Okay, so here's that template. This template is in that references module, and you'll be using this throughout the entire class. When I say write a letter, blah, 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 I'll have the link there. You start with this template. So you just open this in Word, start putting in, your own things here for the 6 parts that you need.
We can also download this and have it.
Absolutely. Yep. Click that button right there.
That's a good one.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, we're talking about direct message strategies here, as opposed to the indirect message strategy. What does that mean? We went over this last semester, but if you didn't take 156, there's a quickie review. So in this class, you might think, oh, direct message, that's a DM. I know what that is. That's like I'm in a chat group and I want to talk to one person. So we're going to go out of the chat group and I'm going to directly message you. That's not what I'm talking about here. We're talking about the direct message strategy. It just has the unfortunate naming of a very similar name, okay? So it's not a DM. Direct message strategy. In that strategy, as we already discussed, it's where you just come right out at the beginning and say what you think or what your conclusion is ahead of the supporting sentences. This is in opposition to an indirect message strategy where you first lay out your reasoning and data before you state what you think or your conclusion, okay? So here's some pictures that might help you cement it into your memory. Direct strategy, main idea comes first on top, followed by details and explanations. And we use it if we anticipate that our audience is going to be pleased, mildly interested, or even just neutral about this information, then we'll use the direct strategy. The other strategy is the indirect strategy, where we do our explanation and data and ideas first, and then at the end, we put our conclusions or what we are coming to. This acts as sort of a buffer for more of the bad news kinds of things. So if you anticipate your audience will be unwilling or uninterested or displeased or disappointed or even hostile about this information, you want to use the indirect strategy. Okay, so that's what we're talking about when we talk about those two strategies. Okay, so here's the video on the 3x3. It's 10 minutes long. I apologize for that. It's dated, as you can see from CRTs and clicking keyboards here. But I believe it's a good video. If you don't know what the 3x3 strategy is, this is the quickest way, even though it's 10 minutes long, I can relate this information to you. So we're going to
Just review.
hang out and watch this video.
In business today, writing is even more important than it used to be. And for one thing, even if it's only email, just about everyone is required to write. Now, if you've ever had one of your emails misunderstood, you know that even this simple task requires writing technique. Depending on your job, you may be called on to write an email, a formal business letter, an internal memo, a report, or a sales presentation. Business writing is different from other writing. For one thing, length is not rewarded. The shorter, the better. And you're not out to impress anybody with your knowledge. Your goal is to communicate as simply and clearly as you can. Any good writer will tell you that writing takes place in 3 phases: pre-writing, writing, and revising. You start with pre-writing, which is the whole process of evaluating your message and your audience. Next comes the process of writing itself, when you organize your thoughts and compose a first draft. Finally, there's the all-important phase of revising, where you make revisions and proofread the document. Now, of course, these steps are going to be more or less important, depending on what you're writing. For example, you will spend more time on pre-writing for a formal presentation than you will for an email to a fellow worker. Your personal style will also come into play. Some people rewrite every sentence before moving on to the next. Others wait until the first draft is finished. Finally, it's often not as simple as 1, 2, 3. You may find that a revision you make sends you all the way back to the pre-writing stage. The 3 steps of writing are not so much a straight line as a looping back process to get to a really good, effective final product. We've developed these 3 basic phases of writing into a simple model that explains just what you need to do in each phase. Each phase has 3 steps. Let's look at each phase in turn, starting with pre-writing. The first thing you do is analyze the task. What's the purpose of the message? And what's the best channel for the message? And what's the best channel for delivering it? The next step is to anticipate the audience. Who will read the message? And how will he or she react to it? Then you adapt to the task and audience. For example, by adjusting your tone so the message is clearly conveyed and the reader reacts constructively to it. Let's observe how these employees begin phase 1 of the writing process. You'll notice how they explain the predicament, analyze the task, anticipate the audience's reaction, and adapt the message to improve understanding and readability.
I downloaded and installed an update to my 3D graphics program, and now every time I launch my 3D graphics program, it locks up my computer. So I called the company's technical support hotline, and I was put on hold for a half an hour. I have a deadline tomorrow morning. So now I'm going to write the company an email. I want to really go after them. I want them to really understand how mad I am, but I don't think that's going to give me the results I want. So I analyzed the task. I want them to provide me with a patch or talk me through the fix. I also need to anticipate my audience. The software company's tech support guys, well, they're probably swamped, especially if they're having this kind of problem. Everybody's probably screaming at them. So in order to get their attention, I need to not be angry. Then I need to adapt my task to the audience. I need to communicate that I understand their problem, that I'm not angry, but I've got this deadline, so I need help right away.
I've got this memo to write, and I'm just a little bit overwhelmed. The financial services company that handles our 401ks is introducing 2 new mutual funds, and I have to explain them to the whole company. Okay, so the task. To explain the risks and benefits in simple terms that anybody could understand. Okay, so the audience, well, we're a financial services company ourselves, so the decision makers won't have any problem understanding. Although the kids in the mailroom might. If I put the risks and benefits in terms of a sales pitch, at least more people will realize they have some new choices.
Well, the customer raises some legitimate points.
Well, maybe. I thought that campaign was going to be really effective. I didn't think we'd get that kind of reaction.
I certainly didn't think we'd get customers angry over it. This is from a longtime customer who's pretty annoyed at us because of a series of pop-up ads that we've been running on the website of a West Coast newspaper. I guess some people just don't like pop-up ads.
Well, the research said they'd be fine. I mean, the ads disappear after 15 seconds if you don't click on them.
But that is a long time in web time if the ad covers up the front page you went in to look at in the first place, right?
Okay, what's the task here?
Well, write the customer and address his points.
Okay, I think we should start off with an apology.
I agree.
Okay.
The next phase in the 3x3 process is writing. The first step is research. This doesn't have to be as formal as it sounds, but you do need to collect all the information the reader will need to know before you begin writing. Then you need to organize the information into a clear, persuasive pattern. A few notes may be enough organization for a quick email. More complicated presentations will probably require a formal outline. And now you're ready to compose a first draft. Now let's see how these employees begin the writing phase of this process as they research, organize, and compose their messages.
So the first thing, since this is their technical support, I need to have my technical facts in order. I need to know the operating system, the processor speed, the available memory, the version number. I've got a lot of things I want to write, but I need to put those in order as well. I need to cry for help, the technical facts, what happened. Oh, and I like their product. That's a great place to start. I like their product. Start out positive. It acts as kind of like a buffer. What happened? And technical facts. Those two are my explanation of why I need help. And a cry for help. This is where I make my persuasive request for their assistance. And closing. If I want them to do something, I better express some kind of urgency. Let them know about my deadline. And a time in which I need action taken. Okay? Let's give it a try. I mean, this is a first draft after all. Dear technical support.
This could be an attractive fund for employees with a diversified portfolio who are comfortable with more risk. Okay. The financial services firm has provided me with plenty of information for my research on this memo. What I needed to do was to pick out the most important facts. As I organized the memo, I decided to keep it really clean and simple. And it looks like it's not going to be any more than 4 paragraphs. An intro, a paragraph for each fund, and a summary to tell the employees who are interested what to do next. Of course, past performance.
Okay, so the first paragraph will begin indirectly with an apology and make it clear how much we value his business.
Certainly.
Now, do we then go ahead and say that the pop-up ads were a mistake?
Oh, well, I don't know, Cliff. I mean, I think we should just let it play out. You know, this was only one newspaper, and it's a pilot project.
Okay, all right. So let's explain. we'll say, this has been a pilot project for us, based on valuable feedback from important customers such as yourself. We'll take that approach.
Yeah, that can work. Our problem here is that we have to explain to this customer, but our research won't be complete until we get the data back from the pilot project.
What the customer really needs to know at this point is that it is a pilot project. We value his input, we value his business, and we'll follow up with him once all of the results are in. The last phase in the 3x3 process is revising. Every good writer revises a piece before sending it out. Revising itself can involve dozens of writing techniques, from simplifying sentences to improving the formatting. Proofreading, of course, is critical. A good word processing program can catch a lot of typos, but don't rely on the program alone. A word you typed may be acceptable to the program, but not what you meant to say. Finally, pretend you're the reader and evaluate the piece of writing. How will it look through his or her eyes? Let's observe how these employees put the final touches on their messages as they revise, proofread, and evaluate their work.
No, I've got to back off here. I don't want to make him mad. No, I meant thread. Spell checker accepted. Tread. Hey, you think I'm being too desperate here at the end?
Whoa. Oh, you just can't be too careful. After everything I wrote, I went ahead and made a claim on the future performance of the fund. We can't let that go.
Good.
Here's where we get the
Works all the way
main
down.
info.
Oh, that's terrific right there, the way that plays. Oh, I don't know. That sentence there still sounds a little defensive, don't you think?
But it's true. That's what the research shows.
Yeah, but Jackie, there's a customer. He doesn't care about the research. And we don't want to lose him as a customer.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
Yeah, see, that works a lot better.
Yeah.
It's tighter, cleaner. Good writing. It takes work and practice, but it's something you can master using Guffey's 3x3 writing process.
Okay, if you're wondering who Guffey is, one of the authors of the textbook. Okay, so I'm not going to use as many videos as I did last semester. I just don't think they work as good. This is like the longest.
So this transcription right here is what we went through, or is
Yep.
it something different?
Nope, that's the transcribed audio from that video, and I will always try to keep transcriptions because I know some people work better with, written transcriptions than they do the video. But in general, we're gonna have less videos overall.
It should be.
Okay, so that was like the quickest way I could get through 3x3 for now.
No, that was good.
Yeah.
You know what, and I think I told you that I see the animes with my son or whatever, and at the end we always see like the chapter review, and it helps.
Yeah.
Then I know exactly what I saw.
Yeah. So I don't know, here's some pictures here that just reiterate what we've been talking. I don't know, some people think more visually. So here's the direct request, sort of a visual interpretation of that. Here's, you start with the opening, most important question or command, polite command, and then the body where you explain more and request things and ask more questions if necessary. And then you have the closing, which you have a action item and you show appreciation. And then for the response, similarly, you have the subject line, which you're, giving them the context of what you're replying to, summarize the main information. We have an opening where you're responding to their request. The body with more details, probably a bullet list of information. You can take this opportunity to promote your organization and its products. And then the closing, summary and offer further assistance. So yeah, I saw these slides and I thought, well, somewhat visual, maybe some people will like that. So. And then, we also are doing the instruction things, list of instructions. It's very similar. It has an opening. We have the main idea, the body, which has the instructions numbered, arranged in a numbered list, starting each one with an action verb. And we try to use that parallelism that we talked about. And then the closing are, you're giving them these instructions, request please follow these instructions or whatever your action request is, summary and a closing thought. Okay, I know we're going longer than usual, but first week is like that because we have to do the module 0 and 1. So here's your assignment for this week. I'm going to ask you to do a rewrite for the direct request, the direct reply, and an instruction message. So here's the first one, the direct request rewrite. And it goes over all the things we just said, so they're right here for you. And the goal is you're going to analyze this message. You're going to come up with 6 weaknesses, okay? That's worth 3 points. And then you're going to revise the letter following the structure of the direct request that we've been talking about. That's worth 6 points. So what you physically do here, this is one of those where it's a text box, right? Submission. So you copy this, mark it, copy it, paste it into the submission text box that will show up when you go down here to the submission thing. Where was I?
Copy and
Yeah,
paste.
copy and paste. First part, make your number list of 6 weaknesses of the message, and then go ahead and revise the message. You can just do it right there in that text box. Okay, so there's part 1 and part 2. I'm going to give you one weakness right now. Okay. Dear Angela, how's your day going? Dear Angela, I found your name on this booking site. So you don't know Angela. You don't know her on first name basis, certainly. So dear Angela, weakness number 1, okay? Okay, so you'll do that on your own time. Here's the rubric for it. Okay, second one, same idea. This is the response, right? Same idea. I'm going to ask for 4 weaknesses since it's just smaller. There's only 4 things.
So one question,
Uh-huh.
sorry, is just that did it already right here, but I should do it on my computer. So this we could do later, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We're not going to have time today to do these,
Yeah.
unfortunately. Next week we'll be able to do more in class, but it's already 11:43. And I still have the whole grammar thing to cover. So yeah, here's a response, a direct response message. So you're going to analyze this in the text box. You're going to say, part 1, here's my 4 weaknesses I've identified. Part 2, rewrite this message using all the things we just learned. And then lastly, same idea for the instructions, right? Instruction message rewrite. Here I'm just reiterating all the stuff we went over. So yeah, if you didn't take 156, let's go over this really quickly. So some of the things that you do in your lists of instructions is, we already talked about the indicative versus imperative mood. You want to try to be in the imperative mood, like giving them commands, right? Match noun use, gerunds, the ing nouns. What's a gerund? It's talking about a verb as if it were a thing. I am fishing. Fishing is a verb, the continuous tense of the verb to fish. Whereas I like fishing, fishing is not a verb there. That's a gerund noun because we're taking the action of fishing and talking about it as a thing, right? So using those ing nouns in your instructions will also give you the ability to use that parallelism, right? Because it'll be like this thinging and that thinging and the other thinging, right? I think an example we had last time was, I like hiking and walking, and I like to go off on ski trips. Would have been better if you said skiing, so the ing and the ing and the ing all match, and it's all parallel, right? Match a verb use, often with the ity suffix. Try to match phrases together. We're going to go over all this stuff in detail later on in the course. Match the active and passive voice. You might be like, what's that? Yeah, we haven't covered that yet. You did last semester. We're going to cover it again this semester. Match the verbs and listed items, like I kind of just went over. I do have a video here that you can look at on your own if you need a refresher on parallel structure. And here's what we already just went over in the PowerPoints. So your goal here is to, same thing, you're going to look at this example message, you're going to find 4 weaknesses, you're going to list those out in the text box. You're going to copy and paste this message into that text box, and you're going to list those 4 weaknesses as part 1, and then you're going to revise this message using all the things we just mentioned right there, and that's going to be part 2. Okay, It'll all be in that text box.
And this is for this week, right?
This is due by next class meeting. Okay, so by next Wednesday, it should be done.
Remember that sheet? I have it.
Okay, it's 11:46 and we're just getting to the grammar lesson. Okay. Gonna go through this quickly. And like I said, usually on these grammar lessons, we actually do the assignments in class. We're not gonna have an opportunity this week to do that because of time. Parts of speech, we're gonna start with nouns. So I'm gonna go through each week, at least the first 3 weeks, with breaking down the parts of speech. And my analogy is like to chemistry. You have to know what your atoms are, to know what your molecules can be, to know what compounds you can create, right? So we're going to start with these are like the atoms of speech, right? The parts of speech. There's 8 that we're going to talk about. Today is about nouns. Okay, English is an SVO language. What does that mean? It means we always have the subject, then the verb, and then maybe an object noun that we're talking about, right? Can be just subject and verb. I am. That's a complete sentence. I, subject, am, verb, right? I am going to the store. That has an object noun, okay? But it always has to be in that order. Subject, verb, then if it's their object, right? Some example, we eat carrots. Subject, we eat carrots, right? Eat, verb. So what is a noun? Everybody probably knows this already, right? A noun is a name for something, a person, a place, a thing, or an idea or quality. Some people miss that one. We're going to go over that. That's one possible answer you could give. Another possible answer you could say, a noun is the subject of a sentence. Every correct sentence has at least one noun in it, and it's at the beginning, and that's the subject now, right? It can have more. Another answer you could give is, that's what babies use to communicate. They just use the noun, mama, milk, baby. Okay, we can classify nouns into their different types. Okay, we have proper nouns. Proper nouns are a particular person, place, object, or quality, right? Like Cabrillo College, Dr. King, ACLU, Bell's palsy. What do we do with grammar with proper nouns? We capitalize them, right? So that's a huge giveaway. If you see a noun and it's capitalized, it's a proper noun, right? What if it was like the janitor? Is that a proper noun? Is that a particular person?
Yes.
No.
Janitor?
Whoever's the janitor today, I don't know their name, right? So that's not a proper noun. Okay, if it's not proper, then it's called common noun. And common noun we can break down into 3 more types, right? The ones that you normally think about are the concrete nouns. Those are things you can touch, real things, house, computer, table, right? We have what we call collective nouns, which is a noun for a thing acting as a group or a unit, like the faculty, the staff, the herd, right? So it's a noun, one noun, but it is a collection of nouns inside of it. That's one way to think of it, okay? And then we have abstract nouns. These are the ideas like freedom, truth, or strength. So those aren't things you can touch, but they're still a thing. They're a thing in your head, still a noun. Nouns have a gender. I'm just talking about the grammar police here, gender, okay?
Yes.
These 4. Masculine, feminine, neutral, or inanimate, right? So the first 3, it has to be either an animal or a human, or it doesn't count, okay? You can't use masculine, feminine, or neutral on something that is not an animal or a human. So masculine, example, son or a stallion. Feminine, examples, aunt or a cow or a queen. Neutral is either, I don't know, could be male, could be female, or it could be non-binary, right? So like doctor, I don't know if it's a lady doctor or a man doctor, professor, don't know. So that's neutral. And then if it's not an animal or a human, we call that inanimate. Tree, medicine, okay? Now there's a little tricky thing in here, and like some fruits, for example, are proposed to have a gender. Like you can tell a pumpkin is a female pumpkin by the markings on the bottom of the stem or something like that. Not in grammar. If it can't get up and walk around or slither around or it can't move itself, it's inanimate, right? So a pumpkin does not have masculine, feminine, or neutral gender. That's gender. Nouns have a number. They're either singular or plural, right? There's rules for forming plural nouns. I have a chart here in the reference thing, but we're going to cover this in a later grammar thing. But you can look at this chart if you need help right now. Nouns can be possessive. They can show ownership. Here's a chart on the rules for creating possessive nouns. But again, we're going to go over this in a later grammar lesson. We have pronouns. Pronouns take the place of a noun that's been already mentioned. We call that noun that it is replacing the antecedent, right? The pronoun has to match all the things we just mentioned, the gender, the number, and the person. And another thing that we're going to talk about called the case of the antecedent. The person can be first, second, or third person. Do we know what that means, first, second, third person, right? If I'm talking about myself, I, that's first person. If I'm in a conversation with you, right, I'm talking to Alicia, you, that's second person, right? We're part of the conversation. If we're talking in a conversation talking about someone else who is not part of our conversation, that's third person. They, him, her, right? We're going to go over all this in more detail. This is just sort of an overview. Okay. The case can be subjective or objective depending on how the pronoun relates to the verb. And there's a chart in the reference thing about personal pronouns that show you which different cases we can use. And we have a whole assignment about that we're going to talk about. How do nouns function in a sentence? They're the subject, right? At least the initial first one. A subject is a noun, and a correct sentence has to have at least one noun subject. So you can identify them by cutting the sentence down to its essential thing. Ask yourself, who or what is this verb about, right? The staff uses the lunchroom. Who uses the lunchroom? The staff. That is the noun subject. Phil sold his car. Who sold the car? Phil did. Noun subject. But we can have more than the subject now. We can have more nouns. Like we said, SVO, we can have the object noun, right? Or more, right? So nouns in the predicate part of the sentence. Those will be nouns after a being verb, which we're going to cover, or a linking verb, and is our word. A noun is something that says something else about the subject noun. So physics was her favorite topic. So physics is the subject noun here, right? But we have more nouns, her and topic, right? That add more additional information. Okay, so here we have your assignment. Identify the nouns. I'm going to give you this list. This is another just text window submission thing. So just copy, paste this into the submission box, edit it, submit. Okay. So for each one of these 20 sentences, I have a noun, and I'm going to ask you, is it this or that noun type, right? These things here. So I'm going to ask you, a pumpkin, is it neutral or inanimate? So I sort of already gave you this one, right? I said pumpkins, some people say they have a gender. Not in grammar. In grammar, it's not able to walk itself around or slither around. It is inanimate, right? So these can be tricky sometimes because you're just like, well, I don't know if it's male or female, so it could be neutral. But if it's not an animal or a human, it cannot be anything but inanimate, right? So you go through each one of these and you can just like highlight or bold if you want the answer you're picking from these two, right? So the first 5 are, is it neutral or inanimate? The second one, is it collective or plural? Let's go through a couple of these, right? So a bouquet, that is a single noun, right? It's not a plural noun, but it stands for, or it contains a collection of things, right? It contains a collection of flowers, right? So is it a plural or is it a collective? Well, in this case, that is a collective, right? I'll let you figure out the other ones. And I was tricky and I didn't give you any simple plural nouns here. I used some of the irregular plural nouns. So you're going to think about it. Okay, and then the next 5 here are, is it a concrete or abstract? Is it something you can touch? Then it's concrete. If you can't touch it, then it's abstract, right? And then the last 5 are, is it proper or common? Come on, this is easy because It's gotta have a capital if it's proper, right? Okay, so I'll let you do those on your own. And we're almost done. We have a normal discussion at the end of the week. I'm gonna ask you to give a specific example from your daily life where you could use a positive direct request or a direct response message. Just something from like, oh yeah, last week I was in work and blah, 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 right? And then I ask you these two questions a lot in these discussion thing. What part of the module do you think will help you? What part of the module is confusing? Okay, and then same thing, you do yours and then you wait, you find at least one, in this case, of one of your peers and do a reply back to them. Okay? And then there's a simple module quiz, another 4 or 5 question thing. Again, this is just for you. Take as many times as you want, no time limit, just to make sure you've got coverage of the module. All right, made it to the end. What did we cover? Importance of business letters in delivering positive messages outside of the organization. The structure of positive direct request responses and instruction messages. Format of a business letter and parts of speech, nouns. Okay? Any questions on today's lesson? Okay, so you know what you need to do. Go ahead and look at your to-do thing up in your dashboard. It will show you all the due dates for these assignments. All right. And that's any other questions? Okay, I'm going to head over to the Aptos Computer Center if you want to see me over there. Otherwise, I'll see you next week.
Thank you.